where we go.
I think you can hear me, but I can't hear you. That's the problem now.
Good evening. Welcome to NUFC.
Oh my God! I can hear you, but you.
That's good. That's good. Don't worry, mate. Don't worry. We've got an international flavour tonight. We've got Newcastle United supporters from around the world. First of all, I'm joined from Bulgaria by Andrei Avramov. How are you? See you, mate.
Hey, Steve. Hello to all fellow Newcastle supporters from around the world. Very nice to be part of this show. I've been a Newcastle supporter for like 25 years, since the mid-90s, when Newcastle was going strong under Keegan, and our friends from Sky Sports were gaining popularity in Bulgaria. And very happy to support the team, and a bit upset with what's happening lately.
Yes, I can understand, mate. I can understand you being upset, mate. It's not, it's not been pleasant for any of us, to be fair. Next, I've got Joe, Joe the Geordie, in Japan. How are you, Joe?
Yeah. Hi, how are you doing, Steve? Yeah, I'm in Japan. It's 1 a.m. here, and I was at a barbecue today having a few cans, so I'm all right now. But yeah, if I drop off, that's why. It's not the internet. But I've been a season ticket holder for 25 years, roughly, and I still am, even though I'm here in Japan.
Yeah, good stuff. Max is joining us from Sweden tonight. Max, how are you? Can you hear us, Max? Max has gone a little bit AWOL, I think, and he seemed to have a couple of problems there. We'll bring in Michael Chopra. Good evening, Michael. How are you, mate?
Hi, Steve. How are you doing, mate? I'm very well, thanks.
And of course, you're an expat, Geordie, as well. Just remind everybody where you're calling in from tonight.
I'm in Jakarta, Indonesia, and the time is 10 past, just gone 11.
Yeah, that's not bad, mate. That's not bad. But listen, it's great to have you on, guys. And obviously, from our perspective at NUFC Matters, we're just trying to give different people a chance to come on and express their views. Of course, as always, we're joined by the Newcastle fans who will possibly be asking us a few questions and obviously telling us where they want to go with tonight's show in the next hour. Andrei, I'm going to come to you first, mate. What do you make of the last few days' events? Obviously, we've all been expecting a takeover, and so far we haven't got one, and none of us really know what's going on.
Yeah, to be honest, I've been following from distance, like being in Bulgaria, like I read your posts and I read The Athletic and what George Coking and all the local journalists report, and actually everybody has been pretty upbeat that the takeover will happen, and it will be approved. Actually, we knew that it's in the Premier League, and basically they just need to say yes or no. So I was very shocked when I saw the statement this week. And I asked myself, like, what happened? Like, the Premier League didn't say no. Why are the PIF pulling out of the deal? But then I realized, and I hope that probably PIF and Amanda Stavely and the consortium want to put extra pressure in the system and really ask for an answer from the Premier League and all the Newcastle fans to unite and put pressure in the system. This is how I explain it to myself. Other than this, I was very, very disappointed and honestly, pretty downbeat for what's to come if the takeover doesn't happen. Like I expect St. James's to be. It was 10,000 people less per game this season at the beginning of the year. What will be next season? Like I've never seen St. James's, half empty, and probably this is what might happen.
Yeah, I think you're right. Joe, what about you? You're in Japan. You're a big Newcastle fan, and I realise you're a good pal of a friend of mine as well, Pete Graves, who most of us know from Sky as well. Hi to Pete. I know he sometimes tunes in when he's not working at Sky Sports. Yeah, what's your take been on it, mate?
Well, very similar to Andrei. I think he put it very well there. Obviously, I've been following it closely for the last 16 weeks or whatever it's been. And it's not good for your sort of mental health, I don't think, as a supporter, if you're checking Twitter every 30 seconds to find out has there been any update. You've got your George Colkin alerts on, your Newcastle United alerts on, and they're just trying to flog some scarves or something. But it has taken its toll, and I think as a governing body, the Premier League really need to take more responsibility for this, because there seem to have been they're given the impression of having been backed into a corner and stuck between a rock and a hard place. But I'm not sure if that's really an excuse as the governing body of the Premier League, and especially when one of their member clubs is suffering as a result of it, because we can't move forward in the transfer market. We're talking about the agents and who the agents talking to as this process has been going on. What are the type of players they're offering to the club, and at what price, and what sort of wages are they expecting for the players. And it's obviously a completely different ball game if you're talking Saudi billions compared to Mike Ashley's peanuts. So that's peanuts with a T, by the way. So it's been hard for everyone. The players, I never feel sorry for agents, but even they've had a hard job to do as well. It's affecting absolutely everyone from the top to the bottom, and even not an ounce of sympathy for Mike Ashley, but even he's kind of knocked for six by all of this, and he doesn't know what's going on. So I think it's really the responsibility of the Premier League to finally make a decision, which they haven't had to do on this occasion. But perhaps if any deal was resurrected, or if they came in with a new deal, then they really need to sort of improve their I want to say speed, but it's not speed. It's more their efficiency in coming to a decision, and actually having some guts and actually coming down one way or the other, and on the side of make it go ahead.
Yeah, Michael Chopra, thanks for joining us as always, mate. We've talked about the takeover now all the way through this horrendous COVID situation, mate. 17 weeks. I don't think you or I saw that coming, did we? Really? Michael? No, he's gone now. Max, we'll come to you while Michael sorts his technical issues out. Max, tell us what you're from Sweden, mate. Tell us a little bit about yourself first, mate. How long you supported Newcastle, etc.
Yeah, so I started supporting Newcastle in the season they got relegated. So that's 2016 when Rafa came in. So for that season, me and my friend were looking for a team to support in England, and I saw the last game at Tottenham when they won 5-1, and the passion from the Geordies and the unity they had, even though they went down, made me fall in love with the club, and so I've supported them since then, the championship season. So for 4 seasons, 4 years, about that.
Fantastic. You do realise that it's a poison chalice sometimes supporting our club.
I knew that something was bad with the owner. I was like, nah, it's all good. It's gonna work out probably. But I was wrong, and I've lived with that decision for like 4 years now. But it's been worth it.
No, that's good. That's good, and it's good to see young fans as well. We often get criticised, I think, on here just the age group we've got. We've got to have an old guy's view. But it's nice to have somebody young on the show, mate. So welcome, Matt.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Michael.
I'm quite young, by the way.
Yeah. Michael, I'll come back to you, mate. I asked you a question there, but I'm not sure whether you heard us, Michael. What's your take on the whole? The collapse of the deal. You didn't see it coming. No, Michael, you're definitely not having a good day with your technology, mate.
I think he's stunned. He's stunned.
I think so. Yeah, he'll come back. Luke Edwards, of course, getting a bit of criticism on you tonight. But look, lads, I've said what I needed to say on Twitter. I'm not gonna take the show over by going on about Luke Edwards. Thanks for your support. Tony Milner says, do we honestly think the sale can be revived? Well, I'll start with this. And I was speaking to the lads off air before we came on. Yeah, I think there's still a possibility that it can be. I genuinely feel it can be revived. I just think it's down to Mike Ashley now. Mike Ashley, as I've put out on Twitter today, Mike Ashley wants to sell the club. We have willing buyers still in PIF. I don't think that they'd spend all that time wanting to buy the club and then simply walk away. I think they've probably had enough of the criticism that they've received, and I just think there is still that faint hope of possibility. And I think that signing the petition that is going round, that somebody has started off, I think genuinely could make a big buzz in Saudi, because they would see that 100,000 people are supporting, they're wanting to buy the club. And I also think that it gets recognised at government and parliamentary level if it gets to 100,000. So look, I don't think it's a lost cause. It costs you 10 seconds of your life to sign the petition. If you're capable of writing or want to write a letter, I think writing a letter to the Premier League, a civil, polite letter to the Premier League, explaining that you would like the takeover to go through, I think is a sensible idea. That's it. Andre, I'll come to you again. What's your thoughts on that? I mean, do you still have that faint bit of hope that a takeover could go through?
How was the phrase? Hope can kill you, but it will not let you die. Yeah, I want to hope. Honestly, I want to hope. But I've been really optimistic, and the news from this week has been really like heartbreaking for me and for many others around the world. I think it's high time the Newcastle fans did something. I think it's now the time to really, because if we don't do anything, things will stay the way they are. We need to put pressure on the Premier League, and this petition idea, it's a very good idea. We need to escalate, and at the end of the day, football became a huge business, and probably Newcastle now is a victim of this one, because the Premier League is under so much pressure from the rest of the big clubs. But the Premier League is such a big business because of all the people like yourself who are paying to go to games, to buy merchandise, to pay subscriptions. So at the end of the day, without the people, without the supporters, football cannot be such a big business. Yeah, the corporations won't be interested in football as a business if the supporter base is not there. So now is the time to really, escalate, make sure that the Premier League understands that they need to make a call. They need to say yes or no. I really like the statements from the Rubin brothers this week and from Amanda Staley. So apparently their heart is into the deal, and my optimism stems from their statements from this week. But really something needs to happen elsewhere. I don't know if the ball is in Mike Ashley's court, because I think Ashley, as you said, he wants to sell. I think the Premier League needs to come out and say, yes, we approve the deal. So PIF, you have a green light to go ahead. And I think that they need to be put under pressure for this to happen.
Yeah, Paul asking me why the Rubin brothers don't just buy it themselves. That they're not interested in buying it themselves. They want the deal to go through as it's already been announced, i.e. PIF coming in as the majority shareholder and PCP and the Rubins having 10%. It's not their ambition to own a football club. So that's a simple answer to that. Mike from Malaysia, can we hear you?
Yes. How are you, Steve? Finally.
Welcome.
I have to change from laptop to handphone. Finally, I can hear you guys.
Fantastic, mate. Welcome. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your history supporting Newcastle, how you ended up choosing Newcastle as a club, and what your position is in Malaysia?
Okay. I started supporting Newcastle United during the entertainers years. Previously, I was with another club, which I will decline to tell everybody. But anyhow, I started supporting from this jersey, 1995 onwards. But not as a real supporter, but I think everybody knows during that time, Newcastle United was your second team, the team that you love very much, but it's not your team. But when Alan Shearer signed for Newcastle, it sealed the deal for me. And since then, 24 years, I think since last week also, Alan Shearer is 24 years signing for Newcastle United. I've been a Newcastle United fan, and currently I am the president of Tsunami Malaysia, which is the Newcastle United supporters club here in Malaysia.
Fantastic, mate. Great to have you on. I will ask you the question, because obviously everybody else has asked it. Just your take on what's happened over the last few days with the takeover.
Firstly, I was gutted. But right small in my heart, I see this happening. It would be happening like this because we have this kind of takeover / fake over and over. So to have like Rubin brothers or Steverly say that they are already quitting this takeover, so it's it's a big blow for us. And on behalf of Army Malaysia, we're also very frustrated. And although we like to blame Mike actually on this, but for this action is solely on Premier League. I think they are a bunch of slow people who has other agendas.
Yeah, that's good point. Good enough for me. I think you're right. Well, let's move on to a little bit of football. Callum Wilson, Joe, has been suggested as a potential signing. I know we seem to be getting linked with Ryan Fraser as well, which has been a deal which has been mooted probably by the press for the last couple of years. Do either of those two float your boat as potential new signings for next season, or will you just be happy if we get somebody through the door?
Yeah, well, I mean, again, with all the talk of the takeover and everything, obviously everybody's minds turned to who could possibly come in once it went through. And so my head's been turned, and I've got the name Messi swinging around, which is completely crazy, but maybe not Messi, but I've got, Cavani he's gone now, I think, but that sort of caliber of players being the names that have been sort of interesting to me over the last 16 weeks when I've been dreaming of the takeover actually going through. But I think Callum Wilson's a very good player and he's a finisher. And I think that's what we're lacking, really. Dwight Gale's done a great job of getting a few goals towards the end of the season. But there's always a question mark over him and his consistency. Obviously, Joe Linton's hasn't done it for her yet. He's still remains to be seen if he can turn it on next season. I'm sure he'll get another chance. But I think someone like him would be good for us to try and stave off relegation, which is probably what we're looking at next season. And Fraser too, I think, good player, another little Scottish Raj packet, I think, isn't he?
Yeah.
So him and Matt Ritchie would be quite an interesting sort of combo. See how they just mess with other teams in the league. But yeah, they're good players, and I wouldn't mind seeing them through the door. I think they would both be good signings. It's not exactly what we were hoping for over the last few weeks, but they are. I mean, Callum Wilson's an international, an England international, so there's absolutely no way that you can deny he would be a good addition to the squad. Obviously, I'm a Yoshinori Muto man.
Yeah,
I'm waiting for him to get his chance. I feel
Give him a chance.
Yeah.
Tsunami Malaysia also support Muto.
Yes.
We hope Muto can play.
But this is one of the things that I think. This is something the Premier League have I don't think considered, but the supporters around the world, they latch on to a player who represents them. So here in Japan, whereas maybe in the mid-90s or in the Bobby Robson era, Newcastle United would roll off the tongue and everyone knows who they are. These days, even though we have a Japanese international in the squad, a lot of my students, when I'd say, who's your favorite football team? They say Man City or Liverpool. Actually, they say Real Madrid or something like that. And I have to correct them, as a teacher. No, that's the wrong answer. Try again until they say Newcastle. I could be there for an hour and a half, but they'll get there eventually. But even though they have a player from their national team in the squad, they're not familiar. And I think we need to sort of the Premier League as well need to be aware that there's more than just the Geordies in Newcastle. There's people all around the world supporting the club, and it's not creating a good impression. Sorry to bring it back to takeover chat.
Great point, though. Great, really good point. Lots of stuff coming in on the takeover. Mad Mark is asking, do you think we'll hear of any legal action by the buying party or the seller towards the Premier League for restriction of trade regarding the takeover? Simon Jordan seems to think so. Yes, I think that's the avenue that Mike Ashley could go down. And R. Jordan asks, do you think the consortium will shift percentages of shares? No, I don't, is my honest opinion of that. And I'm always willing to take criticism. Ozil says that I've kept saying 100% and kept dismissing everything as fake news. That played with the fans' emotions when you knew nothing. Ozil, only I know what I know. You know, I think it's quite clear by now that I'm very close to the buyer side, to PCP. I don't really need to go into that in massive detail, but I never misled anybody. People ask me what my opinion was and whether I thought it was likely to go through, and I was always 100%. I was very confident. I didn't see any reason for the Premier League to reject this deal. And so far, the Premier League haven't rejected it. They've put obstacles in the way of the deal, but they haven't rejected it. PIF have withdrawn for now. We don't know what is going to happen. One would imagine that Mike Ashley is a willing seller, still wants this Saudi deal to come through. And he has said, now via Lee Charnley, that never say never, he wants this deal to go through, this deal. So I'll take the criticism and I'll take a knock off anybody, but you know, you don't really know what I know, mate. And I can only report what what I feel. And you know, you ask me my opinion, it'd be different to yours. It's different to the lad. So you know, I've got to say that.
Fair enough, Chief. Fair enough.
Yeah, Max, can I just come to you next, mate? Just about players, you know, signings. Joe's mentioned Muto. You know, you're relatively new to supporting Newcastle United over the last 4 years, so you know your opinion might be slightly different. You know, as well, you've only really known the Mike Ashley era. There's some of the lads around, you know, here have known other chairmen, other owners. So, you know, are you going to be happy with the likes of Callum Wilson coming in or Ryan Fraser? You know, is that suitable for you?
Yeah, I think both those players are quality players because Ryan Fraser didn't he get the most assists 2 seasons ago or something, and Callum Wilson is a good goal scorer. Honestly, I don't think he's much better than Dwight Gale, because at least not for £20 million if we're gonna buy him for that. But
yeah.
you know, my bar is not that high when it comes to sign. I got excited when we signed Joe Linton, so. But I think I hope we can do some smart business. Sign some players that maybe not plays in the UK, because often UK teams tend to buy English players or from the Championship, and those players tend to be quite expensive. While you can get, like Benitez did, he got Lejeune and Char for like £4 million when Manchester United got Maguire for £80 million. And who's the better? Like the defenders, the quality is not that big. The difference is not that big, and I hope we get some Swedish players, more offensive Swedish players, not Emil Kraft. Maybe someone a bit more exciting going forward. Zlatan, I see someone commented Zlatan. I think we should need him, but there are some good Swedish players I would like to see in Newcastle.
Yeah, good stuff. Mike, what about you, mate? You mentioned Muto there. You know, you'd like to see Muto, you know, get more games. I mean, obviously it comes down to the manager. You know, Steve Bruce clearly doesn't like him. You know, we've got to remember Rafa didn't really like Shelby, but Bruce has put faith in Shelby. So it swings and roundabouts when different managers come in. But you know, is there anybody you would like to see Newcastle sign?
Firstly, I'd like to add what Max said. I also very happy when Joe Linton was signed, but then to tell you the truth, he was not number 9. He is really not number 9. We had to find a new number 9, top scorer, top striker. And sadly, I had to say Dwight Gale is not one of them. Muto, the only thing that we are asking him because he's not played. Okay, because when he's not played, who don't know whether he can score or not. But he did score a good goal against Man United not long ago. So basically, Tsunami Malaysia, half of us would like to see Muto. He's also an Asian player. But if you ask me, we really need number 9. That's number 1 priority. And secondly, with this current injuries, I think another centre back is important. And then try to shift Joe Linton not to play on the top, maybe on the left side or the right side or forward. That's much better, because putting him, 40 million, the most expensive NUFC player ever, at number 9, top front, where there's not his natural place, I think it's also not good. Callum Wilson, he's maybe slightly better than Gale, but I would like to for Steve Bruce to find a gem. A new diamond. I mean, for number 9, people like Haaland or something like that, who can score goals and also entertain Newcastle United fans around the world. So for me, priority is number 9, top out and out striker, and another centre back.
It's a pity Steve Bruce doesn't share those sentiments when he was asked whether a striker was his priority. He says not necessarily. So, God, I hope that changes. Max, you've got your fan club on tonight. I think Nettle Warrior says, what does Max make of Emil Kraft?
Well, how should I put this? It's like, he's not the best player, but I appreciate his commitment. He works hard for the team. But he's not like the right back you want to have if we're gonna break into the top 10. Basically, it's a good compliment.
Yeah,
agree. Both hard, but not good enough.
No, but I like him still because I mean he's the only Swedish player. It's him and Victor Lindelöf in Manchester United, so we gotta stick with our boys. But someone I wondered what happened to was Joseph Martinez in Atlanta, Miguel Almiron's friend. I think we should go for him, even though he's been injured. I think, but he's a proven goal scorer, maybe in the MLS at least, and maybe he and Miguel can connect up again and score some goals for us.
The one thing about Kraft is he had a horrendous start to the season, but he did improve. So he's
assist against West Ham. He did assist against West Ham. That was big.
Yeah. I'm not completely against him, but I also think he's played a part. Andre, come to you again, mate. Steve Bruce. Let's talk a little bit about Steve Bruce. I think with the takeover, when it was looking imminent and everybody was expecting it to go through, we were planning for a new manager, Pochettino, Rafa, a lot of names mentioned. But Steve Bruce now has the job as head coach to pick the team for the pre-season, and he's also got a transfer window to deal with. So let's look back on last season. How did you think he did? Well, give us your assessment on Steve Bruce.
Well, the thing is, the expectations were so low that whenever he exceeded the expectations, but they were really, really low. Everybody was posting about, or many people in the media who are not that close to Newcastle were saying, he did a tremendous job, he did a fantastic job. But this is because all these people expected Newcastle to get relegated. And when you realize we're going to finish somewhere in the middle, it was easy for them to draw the line that he did a fantastic job. But we all know that the football hasn't been great. I think actually it stagnated versus last season. Like Rafa built the team anyhow. This team is built on Rafa's foundations, the defense, most of the midfield players. Actually, Steve Bruce, and it's not Steve Bruce who did the transfers last year, but he got Joelinton, Alan Saint-Maximin, and he got Miguel Almiron as a legacy from Rafa. So basically, I'm sure that this stupid comparison that everybody does, I'm sure that Rafa could have done a better job, but Steve Bruce did the minimum job, let's say. And I like Steve Bruce as a person. Like, he comes across as a very decent man, and I know he's a local guy, and I know the story about his parents, losing his parents the previous year while he was working for Aston Villa, and I have all the sympathy for him, but I don't think that as a head coach he's up to the level that we as fans aspire to for Newcastle. And actually we needed someone of a higher caliber. Actually, Rafa was the caliber that we should be aiming at, and I was hoping that Rafa
yeah, me too. Jordan asked you a question, Joe. He said, do you think ex-players and pundits that are affiliated with a club should be pushing this petition with their public influence? He means, not interest. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, absolutely. They're in a position where they have a large following, maybe on Twitter or wherever, even on television. It's difficult on television to have any kind of opinion that way, so probably privately on Twitter. But yeah, I think so. I think it's worth signing, and it's worth putting pressure onto the Premier League, like you said earlier. So yeah, absolutely. I would say ex-players, pundits, anyone with a voice who can share and spread that kind of message to apply pressure, because it does work. Twitter campaigns and so on. It seems like something that is I'm not sure how to describe it, but it seems like it won't work, but it does if you actually get enough people behind it. And so, yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, I mean, Scott Crom saying Shearer has tweeted nothing. I think the problem we have with a lot of these former players, when they're pundits, they're contracted, and when they're contracted to comment on Newcastle United games, which are played, of course, in the Premier League, you can't be seen to be talking yourself out of work, sadly, and that's the big issue, isn't it? That's the problem, mate. It is a problem. You've got. You know, you couldn't have Alan Shearer sitting on Match of the Day slagging the Premier League off because he'd end up getting the sack.
Yeah. Jimmy Nail has, though. He's all right.
Yeah. I mean, look, you will get some players who aren't connected to the Premier League who essentially will be able to do that, but they've got to be very, very, very careful, I think, as to what they do. Mike, I just want to ask you about Steve Bruce and last season. From sitting in Malaysia watching the games. Were you entertained? And how annoyed were you? I mean, were you getting the same comparisons between Rafa Benitez and Steve Bruce on your Malaysian commentary?
If you ask me, I just said, move on, please, move on. Rafa is no more here. Rafa went for a biggest picture of his life in China. So although what he did is great, taking Newcastle back from the championship only one season. Thank you very much. He is not out of work. He's being paid tremendously, handsomely in China. So I have no tears for Rafa. He's the one. Of course, if a better honor, he might stay, but then he's the one who don't want to sign a new contract extension. So thank you very much. We move on. And then at that time, nobody would like to manage Newcastle with the heat that we're going through for Mike, actually. So if you ask me, actually, I have some small spot for Steve Bruce because Steve Bruce was one of my all-time favorite player. I think you know which club I supported previously before Newcastle United. Then.
Yeah.
Okay.
You've given it.
So that Sheffield Wednesday 2 headers goals, and then I think that's the tip also. That's why our centre backs are scoring goals. So he's also a Geordie, a very soft-spoken, nice lad. Okay, it's not the one. If you ask me, it's either him or Jose Mourinho because Jose Mourinho is connected to Sir Bobby Robson. So Sir Bobby, he always loved him. So, and I think Sir Bobby always wanted him to come. So if you ask me, of course, people are throwing a Pochettino, Max Allegri or whatever it is, but I think give him a full season, sign players he wanted. If he failed, I will be the first one who's gonna massacre Steve Bruce. But for the time being, I have to also agree with Andre. The bar has been put when Steve Bruce coming in is low. It's either you've been relegated or you got 17. But now he got 13, so everybody said, especially McManaman, all these players, he's been a good job. But if you ask me, it could be better. He did play some nice play like against Bournemouth, but then there are also other matches where, sorry to say, I even fall asleep watching it. So if you ask me, I see a glimpse of hope when he changed from 5 at the back to 4-3-3. We can see the flow of forward play, but then putting Joe Linton up front at number 9 is still a headache. I really hope if he can play 4-3-3 but a proper number 9, we can do better. Because the only thing we lack for this squad is a killer instinct up front. That's all.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Please give it a like and a share, guys. Tonight, if you hit the little thumb underneath the broadcast, that does us a big favor. And please share it. We obviously do these broadcasts and we'll continue to do these broadcasts for free. So just please help us out to try and build the audience. Yeah, Steve Bruce, Max, I certainly wasn't a fan when he came in, but, I had to swallow my pride at the end of the season and say well done to him. It was a job well done in the sense that he kept us up. We finished 13th and got us to the quarterfinals of the cup. Was it a good season, from your perspective?
Yes, considering how the summer was, because the day Rafa got sacked, I thought we were going down. And even the day after we had signed Joe Linton and Maximan, Willems, Kraft, I thought we were going down because I didn't think someone would be able to put this together. I thought the players would be low and out. But credit to Steve Bruce and his staff for at least forming us and giving us some results that ended up in us staying up and progressing through the cup. And I have the most respect for him, honestly, because I don't think many managers would have succeeded with that.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting season, starting very soon, of course, 12th of September. Andre, let's talk about players. We've mentioned it briefly there already about the likes of Callum Wilson, etc. Let's look at some of the players that we've currently got in the squad. Joe Linton, of course, never far from comments on this show. Supermax, basically criticised him every show that he's been on. I think it always comes round to him and Carroll, specifically because we paid £40 million for him to score goals, and he scored 2 goals. What's your take on the players that we've got? Are there any players that you would get rid of, from this particular team?
Let me start on Joe Linton, because I think he should be a hot topic. Like I think this transfer needs some inquiry from the club if you really want to run the club properly, because whoever advised and scouted, and apparently they didn't make the proper assessment, because as the other lad said, he's not a number 9. We checked his statistics. Like, he has maximum 7 goals per season in Austria and in Germany, and it was clear that this is not a £40 million player from the start. And I'm not one to slack players off easily. Like, everybody needs, especially in England where the football is so much faster and it's a different. He needs to adapt, and he's a Brazilian, and he's not. He needs to learn the language, and probably he needs a second year. And after the next season, we should be able to draw the line on Joe Linton. But this transfer is very, very fishy, because Mike Ashley he didn't want to spend 20 million for 12 years. And after 12 years, he spent 40 million on a player. And it's a very, very fishy. Like, he's not a £40 million player. He's almost impossible now to transfer out of the club, because either you take a huge loss and you move him on, or you just give him a second chance. And I think it's inevitable that next season he will be given a second chance. And I really hope he's already adapted and they can find his position, because imagine you buy a player for £40 million and you don't know his position. And even for the biggest game of the season, the quarterfinal against Man City, Steve Bruce put him on the bench and he played Andy Carroll. So he didn't trust his most expensive signing of the season to play the biggest game for him. But they need to find a position for Joe Linton, and we all see that he's not that fast. He doesn't have a great dribble or a first touch. He's not a natural goal scorer. So there comes the question: what exactly does he do for £40 million? So if you ask me, probably Newcastle needs a number 9 for sure, and Callum Wilson for me will be an upgrade to what we currently have. Other than this, of course, Alan Saint-Maximin seems to be the star of this team, and he's the one who's, my favorite player of all time is Peter Beardsley. And in the last decade, Hatem Ben Arfa was the one that I was really looking forward to watch. And now when I watch Newcastle, and by the way, this season I managed to go to 7 games, which is my personal record. And imagine, from Bulgaria to Newcastle, like one game is usually like 1 season ticket in terms of cost. So I spent like 7 season tickets this season going to watch Steve Bruce football. Alan Saint-Maximin is the only one who justifies the spending and the travel and the hustle. He's the one who really can do something and keeps you on the edge of your seat. Almiron is a good player. Like, he has a great engine, but he doesn't have an end product. Like, he doesn't have the finishing pass, and he doesn't have the goal scoring ability. But I like Almiron as a player. I think that he's a very, very good team player, and he can play 3 games in a row. But we need more attacking players in the shape of Alan Saint-Maximin, and definitely a goal scorer. Callum Wilson would be a good acquisition, I think.
Yeah, great stuff, Andre. You're getting a lot of praise, mate. Jason wants to know where you got your cap from.
I got it from Newcastle, actually. When I'm in Newcastle, I hate giving money in Ashley's pocket, so I hate doing my shopping in the official club store. I usually do the other stores, like the Independent, the Backpage, and the likes. But this one I took from the official store. Yeah,
the Backpage is the best place to go to, guys. Yeah, they've got good face masks in as well, because that's what we're going to wear these days. And are you drinking sake, Joe? That was a question we saw there earlier. I know you were laughing. You're becoming the Geordie Dentist of Japan.
I've got some. Like I said, it's now 20 to 2 in the morning here, so I thought, well,
you've done brilliantly considering you were at a barbecue, mate. I was expecting you to be a lot more out of control than that. You've done very
Tone or something.
I kept the session.
What's your take, then, mate, on the players that we've got? I think we all knew Alan St-Maximin was the star of the show alongside Dubravka last year. Two of the best players that probably in the league. Never mind at our club. I mean, do you worry now with the takeover stalling that they could become a victim of their own success, and Mike Ashley might be tempted to claw in some money, a bit more money from selling them?
Well, that's a very good question, because it would be peak Mike Ashley to sort of dabble in the transfer market and get a couple of players in, and then deadline day, St-Maximin's gone. You know what I mean? Gets 50 million offer and he's away, sort of thing, and then we're left without him. That would be peak Mike Ashley, I think. But I think with the squad we've got, with the players we've got, with a few additions, like I think everyone's in agreement, we need a goal scorer and another winger. I think Almiron as a number 10 in that sort of Beardsley position that Andre was talking about. I think if we play Almiron in the middle and we have St-Maximin, then we need the balance on the right side as well. But I think the squad's not too bad, with a couple of additions. And I think, I hate to say it, but I think it's down to the manager and how they use the players they've got. Obviously, Rafa didn't want Joe Linton, and we can all see why. And he didn't want St-Maximin either, as I understand it. Not his type of player, maybe. I think I think St-Maximin's been a massive hit, and I think he's an exciting player, and he's the sort of player that people tune in to watch on their be out queue boxes in Saudi Arabia. He's like one of those players who is exciting to have in a team. So I think, I mean, I've never been a fan of Steve Bruce myself. I met him a while back at Newcastle United, funnily enough, when he was Wigan manager. I think it was Wigan, and we had them in the next match. And I'm from Corbridge originally, and I said, "Oh, I'm from the same village," and he said, "I'm not from Corbridge. I was just born there." And I thought, yeah. Anyway, so I've never been his biggest fan since then, but I don't think his football's great either. And I think if even someone like Eddie Howe, it's not going to happen. There's no chance that Ashley will get rid of Bruce now and replace him, because I think his heart's not in it. Ashley, that is. I think he's just going to tick it over until he gets his sale, hopefully to PIF, but whoever it is. So,
is that right? Did you send me in a message that you'd met Ashley? I think you're in a unique band of supporters. I've met Ashley as well. How did you find Mike Ashley? What were the circumstances?
Well, my brother's in the sort of football world, and he has been in various different guises. And so when I'm not sure how confidential it was, but back when Mike Ashley was still popular at Newcastle United, when he just arrived, and Sam Allardyce was still manager, my brother had a meeting with Chris Mort in relation to, I think it was a league up in Brazil or something like that. But it never happened. But we got to go to the match, and I sat in the director's box and actually ate lunch with Mike Ashley at that time. But I mainly chatted with his bodyguard, who's actually a really nice bloke. So yeah, that was the circumstances. And then Steve Bruce was there as well, because he was watching the opposition, because I think we were playing Wigan the following match. But he was watching the Man United match on the TV in the director's box. So that didn't go down well with me either. But it's all right. Is that Mike?
Yeah. It's okay, no problem.
Fine. But yeah. So I mean, I think the squad's solid. I think we've got a good few decent players. I would like to see Cher playing a little bit more, and I liked him in the back three. I think his form's dropped off massively since Bruce came in. They're not compatible, I don't think. Cher is a sort of Rafa continental style player through and through. And I think Steve Bruce is probably more of this, I can see him sticking Andy Carroll in defence ahead of Cher, to be honest. You know what I mean? Like, just not the ball.
Yeah.
But everything's up in the air at the minute. And until there's any kind of resolution, and I don't think it is resolved yet at all. I think there's a long way to go in this, and there's going to be a legal battle. There's going to be speculation, and then everything's going to be in turmoil well into the next season, if you ask me. That's just what I feel. So
I think the one good thing to come out of this situation this week is that we can at least concentrate. There's no ticking clock anymore with takeovers. The stress levels will have dropped. We all now have this feeling of the takeover isn't going to go through. We can concentrate on next season. Bruce can concentrate on getting the squad, whatever money he's got, put together, and concentrate on pre-season and then kicking the season off. And if the takeover rumbles on, it rumbles on. But hopefully it rumbles on in the background and nobody hears about it. Do you know what I mean? Because there's clearly been leaks from both sides, leaks from the Premier League, it seems. And I think that hasn't helped the takeover. So let's hope that's right. Mike, I'll come to you. Question from James Brown. Just want to know how big Newcastle is in Malaysia. Do you have a lot of supporters out there?
In our Facebook, we have thousands of members. But of course, we are not as many as the big six or like Liverpool, Man United, even Spurs quite big here. But then, although we are not many, but we are loud, and you can ask Robert Lee when he came a few years back. It was a massive fun fair that we had. We conquered the lobby area of huge shopping complex malls here in Kuala Lumpur. We are very close-knitted fans, where we usually have our match viewing party or football, futsal or football as a Tuna Army Malaysia team. So we can say that previously during this talk of takeover, there are a lot more people are wanting to be a Newcastle United fan. But then I think same feels also. But then we know almost everybody around us. So can say around 1,000 plus, not as many as the big teams are. But we are here.
Max, what's it like in Sweden? Is it a big support across in Sweden for Newcastle United?
I only know maybe 2 people, and they're journalists. But I know there are a fan group here, but I don't know someone there personally.
Any Sunderland fans out there, Max? Any Sunderland fans out there? Good lad.
I hope not.
We've seen a Mackem in Milan, and we've never seen a Mackem in Sweden now. Is there any in Malaysia, Mike?
I have seen one guy wearing that Mackem jersey, but maybe he mixed it out with Atletico Madrid. Who knows, right?
It might have been Southampton mix. So I think we'll see one in Malaysia.
Maybe.
Andre, what about
maybe.
you in Bulgaria?
So.
I'm sure you would sort them out if you seen one, to be fair.
Yeah.
Listen, we have a relatively big fan club of Newcastle in Bulgaria. We're like 150 guys who are organized. Like every year we count ourselves. We pay like £10 per year for, we have a football team which plays under like Newcastle Bulgaria. We organize ourselves to go to football games. Like the record was exactly at the game when Amanda Stavely attended for the first time, the Liverpool game in 2017. There were 17 of us at that game, and we were joking between ourselves that we brought Stavely to Newcastle. But we're like 150 organized guys, but very, very often on the streets you can see people with Newcastle jerseys on. For sure, we are not as popular as Liverpool or Man United, but English football is big in Bulgaria, and even Burnley has a fan club in Bulgaria. Like I went to a pub a couple of months back, and I saw 3 Bulgarian guys with Burnley tops on, and they were watching a Burnley game. So English football is very, very big in Bulgaria, and I think that the Liverpool fan club is like 10,000 people. These guys, for them this year was a historic one, and they go to absolutely every game. Like they have association with the football club, and they have like a 10 ticket per game allocation for the Bulgarian fan club. Mike Ashley, by the way, Newcastle as a club do not engage with fan clubs from around the world. Like they do not officially recognize them. This is my understanding from I'm not from our chairman in Bulgaria. Like they don't recognize and they don't offer tickets and they don't offer any privileges, let's say, to fan clubs. So basically, we're just how do I say? We use our own enthusiasm and we do everything on our own. Like we know people from Newcastle who find us tickets for games, or we pay membership fees, and this is how we run it. No support from the club.
Yeah, agree. Which we did right during the Rafa years, and then the PA of Rafa replied, but then after that, until now, complete silence from the club.
Wow, I mean that's disgraceful to hear, and of course that kind of thing should be rectified. You know what I mean? It's they don't treat the legends with respect, and they don't treat the fans with respect. This regime, it has to be said. So a takeover would certainly rectify that, and it's a quick fix for the club to actually be able to come in and do something which is supposed to be normal, and that's speak to people and communicate to people. Joe, we'll come to you with this question. I'll spin it around everybody. Should we continue with Lascelles as captain, or should Bruce choose someone who can actually play football? Maybe he's a little bit a bit harsh on Lascelles.
That's harsh, man. That's harsh.
Look, I'm not a Lascelles fan, right? I'll be honest. And I was very surprised when Rafa gave him the captaincy. I understand why, though. And, he's not the worst centre-half I've seen by any means. But he's certainly not. I don't think he'll ever be troubling Gareth Southgate to make a selection. But is he captain material? Is there anybody better in that squad at the moment, Joe?
Before I answer that, just want to say there's no Mackens in Japan. I've checked. When you look at the performances of the team when Lascelles is playing and when he's not, I think he does actually have a positive effect as captain, in that he's got those leadership qualities and he's had them since quite a young age. He's a young captain, and I think as a leader and as an influence on the other players in the team, I think he's really positive. I agree that he's not the best player that we've ever had in that position, but I think he works well in the three as well at the back. I was talking about Cher earlier, and then Fernandez or Lejeune or even Kieran Clark, I think, didn't barely put a foot wrong when he was playing. But I think Lascelles is a good captain. Yeah, I would agree. But if he wasn't, I would have a committed Isaac Hayden in the running, because I think when he plays, he has a similar effect to Lascelles. And if he is committed to staying, and if he's overcome his problems that he had, when he was sort of away, I think someone like him is a great shout for captain, because I just think he's got the heart. He clearly loves the club, and he gets it with the supporters as well. So I would have him as a starting member every week, Isaac Hayden, and I'd have him as captain, to be fair, if it wasn't Lascelles. But I think Lascelles does a good job in his role as captain.
Mike, come to you, mate. You were nodding away there and wanting to say something. What's your view on that?
For me, Lascelles is a good captain because he's a so-called pom-pom boys for the team, because he's the most vocal, and also he didn't shy to give a shout to anybody who's failed. But I have to agree with you. Isaac Hayden is for me is also an important player who I love having players like that, like Anglo Kante for the other team, because we need a ball winner in the mid there. So if you ask me, the top three will be LaSalle, Isaac Hayden, and also the Matt Ritchie. So these three will be my captain choices.
The captain's
Okay.
got to stay on the pitch, though. Remember.
Max, what about you, mate? Who would you like to see as captain? Are you happy with Lascelles, or would you
Yes.
like to see somebody else?
No, I am happy with Lascelles because I think he's. I don't know why people slag him so much. I think he's really good. I think he does the work almost every time. I know we have good centre backs behind him, like Kieran Clark and Federico Fernandez and Sharon Dummett. We have many centre backs, and but I think he's the good captain. I don't think we should replace him. He's been there from when I started supporting the club, so
Yeah.
I mean, I'll have him.
Yeah. I think look. I have been a critic of Lascelles. I don't slag people off on social media. Players, I don't think that's right. But you know, when I'm down the pub with my dad and my brother, I'll have a chat with them. And Lascelles isn't really my favourite. I think if we had a fully fit Kieran Clark, I'd love to see him. And I love Paul Dummett. But I don't see him as a centre half. I see him more as a full back, although he can play centre half. And I know some people say that's his best position. I love Char under Rafa, but he's been bruised. He doesn't fit into Bruce's. And I think
So it's not been Pardue and then been Bruce.
Yeah, Bruceified.
Fernandez has done quite well, you know, but he's a bit. He gives away stupid free kicks and penalties. He's a little bit.
It's a bit slow. It's slow.
Yeah, that's
we need a younger centre back as quicker. Like I think we was linked to Mohamed Salisu in the Spanish league, and it's someone young and quick because all our centre halves are pretty slow.
Andre, what's your take on that before we move on to the next one? I think we might drag this over. If you're all right staying on another 10 minutes, Joe, I know you're like, you know, you're probably desperate to get to bed, mate, but it's if you don't mind going on, that's fine. Great stuff.
It's 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock in Malaysia too. No worries.
It's 2
Lightweight. 2 here.
Yeah.
Andre, what's your take on Lascelles, mate?
Look, as per how I see football, you know, the three best centre halves in Newcastle are Lejeune, Scher, and Fernandez. So when Rafa was playing 3 at the back, I was really hoping that he plays those 3. But I have to admit that when Lascelles is not playing, especially this season under Bruce, without Lascelles, the defense looked shakier and like he has leadership qualities and he's a vocal guy. He talks a lot on the pitch and he helps organize the defense. So as a skipper, I think he does a good job. But as I said, purely from football qualities, I like Scher, Fernandez, and Lejeune. But unfortunately, you know, with all the injuries, these 3 together.
Yeah, okay, mate. Joe, going to come to you on the Matty Longstaff situation. Obviously, his contract's up now. He signed a small extension, obviously, to stay on. Rumours of him going to Udinese, obviously. You know, for a lot more money a week than he's going to get at Newcastle, by the sounds of it, despite Bruce saying he's made a big offer. Disappointed to see him go, or would you like to see Newcastle try and, you know, push the boat out one more time and keep him?
I'm gutted to see him go if he does. Obviously, he's not a Newcastle player anymore officially, but I would really like to see players like him stay. They're local. I don't want him and his brother to be split up either. I feel bad for them, but I think he's a very promising player. I think that if you know, we don't know exactly the contract negotiations that go on, of course, but if the offer that we've heard about is true, then I think that's a decent amount of money. I think that he would be. I would like it if he stayed for that money, and I'm sure that he'll earn more as he goes on in his career. But Bruce didn't play him, even though he was there and he was still in contract. From his perspective, I would worry, because if he's not fancied by the manager and he's a young player, then it could be damaging for his career personally if he stays and just sits in the under 23s. But having said that, I would like to, I think he's a good player. I think he's got a lot of promise, and I'd like to see him and his brother be the sort of the future of the team, possibly, with Hayden, because I just said I wanted Hayden in the starting lineup. So there you go. There's the 3 in midfield. But yeah, I would like to see him stay. I like him, and I I like young, enthusiastic local players. So anything we can do to keep them, I think we should do it.
Yeah. Same to you, Max. What about essentially what about Marty Longstaff? Do you think we should keep him, or would you not be sad to see him go?
I would want to keep him, but I don't know if he really is so good as he has portrayed himself to be, because he had 2 good goals, a goal against Rochdale as well, but 2 goals against Manchester United. But I don't know, he seems a bit too slow to play in midfield. He seems a bit too small, which is, I know people could be small midfielders, but I don't know if he has the ability to really go that far. I see more potential in Sean Longstaff, but I still would like to see his progression and see how far he can take it and how good he actually is, because we haven't seen him that much, and the only things he have done is score really 2 beautiful goals, but I don't know.
Yeah, Mike, same question to you. Marty Longstaff, should he stay or should he go?
You know why? When I saw Matt Longstaff, I kept reminding him to Paul Scholes. And so he's small, he can shoot balls, and then he can also do good passes. So it's a pity he has to go. But then, being he's still very young, I understand he wanted more, maybe a guaranteed of first team playing time. But then he's still young. If I for him, just sign a short-term contract and see how it goes. But then hopefully he'll change his views and then sign for another couple of years at least. Because I would love seeing, because I've seen a lot of his playing style reminiscing Paul Scholes and also his build-up. So it's a stay for me, and I really hope Matty Longstaff extended his stay in Newcastle.
Okay, Andre, are you wanting to see Marty Longstaff staying? I mean, for me, he hasn't played enough games to say whether he's worth that money.
I was at the Man United game when he scored the goal, when he basically debuted. So I was over the moon for him, and he really had a fantastic game. But I agree with the comments and what the guys are saying. He still hasn't proven himself. Like he barely played like 10-12 games. He started, I think, like 4 or 5. If the rumors are true that he wants like 30K per week, it's a lot of money for a young player. And I don't think that at his age he should be after the money that much, and he should be. But looking from the other point of view, if he wants to develop as a player and he sees that he's a 5th or 6th choice for Steve Bruce, I think that he also have the sports motive to move elsewhere. But if Newcastle really offer him like 20K or 25K per week, I hope he takes the offer from Newcastle and stays. Although he needs to be given like more trust and more time, at least to prove himself, because he towards the end of the season, it was really Bruce was making a point, like he was moving him out of the squad, and I think he was playing a negotiation game with him. But his contract was up 2 days ago, and still no communication from the club. What's happening with Marty Longstaff? I agree, it's not the biggest problem that the club faces today. But if I was him and I was the local lad who just made his way to professional football, and Newcastle really offered him that much money, which seems huge for a young, unproven player, I would take the contract and stay and try to make it in Newcastle.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, look, it'll be sad to see him go, but he's not first choice at Newcastle at the moment. His brother's ahead of him, and that's it's a simple case of if he wants to go, then you're better off letting a player go than keeping an unhappy player at the club. It is sad if that's the case. Lots of questions.
Sorry, Steve. I don't think there's any harm in keeping them on and then loading them out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, loan.
Season in the
Championship or League One or something like that. Yeah. Agree, Joe.
Like
games, and if he gets those elsewhere, but as a Newcastle player, then that would be an ideal situation, I think. Sorry.
The last question I'm going to give you, lads, before I give you those of you who run like organisations that a chance just to give it a little bit of publicity, was do you think we'll stay up, or do you think we'll go down next season? So, Mike, I'll start with you in Malaysia. Do you think next season we're going to be fighting a relegation battle, or do you think we'll stay up comfortably?
It'll be hopefully I really hope that we're gonna be a mid-table team, gunning for top 10 finishes. But it's gonna be a huge struggle if the budget I will say set only 35 million pounds. If you ask me, it'll be around 8 to 15.
Yeah. Okay, mate. Max, same question to you, mate. What are you expecting next season? I mean, it's as Mike's already pointed out, we're not going to be shopping at Harrods. We're going to be shopping at Poundland, which is a quite a cheap retail store in England.
Well, I think we're gonna stay up because I believe in our players, and I think if we get some good recruitments, and then I think we'll be staying up, because I think there's other teams in the Premier League that are worse than us. Like I don't think Crystal Palace will have a good season. I don't think West Bromwich will be particularly good, and so I think we will stay up. But it's not what we want just to stay up. We want to progress. But for the next season, I think it's the same like this season. We just have to stay up.
Andre, up or down next season?
Well, a lot depends on the next 1 month, I guess. A lot of people joke, but it's not really a joke, that if we go down next season, it will be much easier for PIF to come back, because there will be no Premier League to decide on the takeover. But honestly, I have bad feelings if the takeover doesn't go through. I have a bad feeling for next season. I think a lot. Newcastle is very dependent on the local people, on the attendance, on the atmosphere in the games. I can see the last 2-3 years the atmosphere has been deteriorating, like a lot quieter. First lost ball, lost pass, missed chance, and people start whistling, and this affects the players because it's a huge stadium and a lot of pressure on people like Joe Linton. You could see that his confidence was shot the whole season. I think that it will depend a lot on the mood among Newcastle supporters next year, and if they'll be able to go to games in the first place, because we all know the environment we're living in. But I'm not an optimist for next season, to be honest.
Same question to you, Joe.
We're going to get taken over. We're going to be rich. We're going to buy Messi and Ronaldo, and we're going to win the league.
Easy.
Easy, take it easy, Joe. I think the sake has taken inside of you.
Jason said,
in reality, I think probably closer to what the others have said. I think if we're still playing behind closed doors, I don't think that's going to help us, because I think the atmosphere has been very much dampened in the entire Mike Ashley era, almost. But then we do also help. Once you've got the tune behind the lads on the pitch, it can be the difference between winning and losing. So I think it depends a lot on the coronavirus situation and whether fans can come back into the stadium, which doesn't seem likely. And it also depends, of course, on, are there 3 teams worse than us in the league? And that's the thing that worries me, because I think Leeds coming up, they potentially could be quite strong. They have a good manager, and they've been out of the Premier League for so long. They're hungry. I don't know whether we've got the same hunger as a club at the minute to stay in the league that Leeds would have, say, for example. So depends on the summer, or whatever's the season is, the rest of the summer, and the transfer window, really. But I'm not 100% optimistic at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, get
a Papi Cisse type of strikers, they'll be fine.
Get Papi Cisse. Full stop.
Type. Now get Papi Cisse now.
Before we finish off, Andre, Ken Walker's asking if Sunny Beach is all it's cracked up to be.
Not this year. This year is like a ghost town, but usually it's like Ibiza, but much cheaper, So come to Bulgaria. But this year it's been like really empty, and you know how it is.
Yeah. Just a last chance, lads, to promote yourselves. Where can people find you on Twitter? You might not want to give away your details, but if you want to build up a bit and talk about Newcastle, which you clearly all want to, you're very passionate. Andre, first of all, just give people the details where they can get in touch with you.
Look, I am on Twitter, but I use Twitter mostly to inform myself. I'm not one who posts. I usually retweet stuff, and I find Twitter very informative, and especially for football, it's a great place to be. Twitter is not big in Bulgaria, by the way. Other social media is much more famous in Bulgaria. But I use Twitter, and I am there, and I retweet stuff mainly from local people like yourself, and I follow the club closely there. I also follow NUFC.com, which I consider to be the best Newcastle-related website. And basically, I just have a plea to all Newcastle supporters in the world to unite. You know what pisses me off on TV and even in Bulgaria, but also in England, is that they call United only Manchester United, but it's Newcastle United. And now is the time, I think, to really be united all around and to really try to drive this whole thing through. Because people think they'll get away with it. They can, like the Premier League, showing complete lack of leadership and just refusing to say yes or no to something that is in their competence. And we need to put pressure, first of all, to the Premier League to say yes or no. And if they say yes, then it's in Ashley and PIF and Amanda Staley's hands for the whole thing to be completed. And if no takeover, we just keep supporting the club and the team. And this is it, I guess.
Great stuff, Joe. Same to you, mate. If any last-minute messages for the Newcastle fans, or if you want to pass on any details so people can follow you.
Yeah, a couple of things. Well, I mean, my Twitter's on your link from before, so please no public shaming. This moustache situation is just for the mask, right? I normally have a beard like Steve.
We are twins. We are twins.
I'd suggest following at Change FIFA as well, which is my brother's Twitter campaign against FIFA, successfully ousting Sepp Blatter. But if you want to have put a dent into Qatar's World Cup situation and have a go at them through that, then that's a good way. It's very informative Twitter handle. And finally, just what I did, because I'm a season ticket holder now, even though I'm in Japan. I used to go with me mum for years, and now she's going with my other brothers. But what I did with my refund money from the season ticket was I bought a Newcastle Blue Star shirt for me and my wife, and they're shipping their way over to Newcastle. So I would encourage any Newcastle supporters who've got their refunds or they want to spend their money on something, go to the smaller local clubs and show your support for them, really. And the food bank as well.
Great
they
stuff.
still need help, yeah.
Great stuff. I will send out your brother's Twitter thing because it must be promoted, that. And I think, especially with what's gone on over this takeover, you'll probably find you'll get a lot of support from that. Mike, over to you in Malaysia. Tell us a little bit about the group and where people can find you on there.
Okay, you can find us at Twitter, Tunami Malaysia, or Instagram, or Tunami Malaysia also. Even Facebook, there's a Tunami Malaysia Facebook there. Usually we will go and have our match viewing at a few places, namely Piccadilly. But then next season it'll be a bit different because it's COVID-19. As for myself, you can find me at Mike Azrael, MikeEazrael. That's my Twitter, and also and my Instagram. So please contact these IGs or Facebook or Twitter account if you want to join the Tunami Malaysia. And then before I go, thank you very much, Steve. It's an honor to be in the same screen as you, because year in, year out, we always check, Tunami always check on your news and also your information, especially on the new transfer and also this takeover. Thank you very much, Steve.
Thank you, mate. That's very nice. Last but by no means least, over to Sweden and young Max. Go on, Max.
Yeah, so first of all, I just want to say thank you. I will answer that question quite soon. I just want to thank you guys for having me on here, because in Sweden, I don't know many people that followed Newcastle, as said earlier, and it's just people that doesn't follow us just don't get Newcastle. So it's nice to have you guys to talk to, and I would love to have some other fans talk to me on Twitter. My name is the Swedish Magpie, or at Max von Mentor. So that's that. And on the Quaison matter, Robin Quaison, I think he would be perfect fit for Newcastle, because he's a goal scoring number 10 maybe, or he can play a winger. He's the if we had him behind the striker, maybe move Almiron to the left and Sam Maximan on the right, and the quality striker up top, I would think we could push for top 10 actually, because he's a really good finisher. He's always doing the job for Sweden, and it would be fun to have a Swedish attacking player in Premier League again, because we only have had defenders since like Henrik Larsson and Freddie Ljungberg, so it's a bit boring.
No, fantastic. Great stuff, lads. Well, listen, I think you can see from the comments, everybody's thoroughly enjoyed it. And
I have visited Newcastle, actually, Jason. I have. It was the best day of my life, actually, and the best trip of my life. It was the Everton game last season when we won 3-2. We turned it around from 2-0 to 3-2. Best day of my life. So I will hopefully come back there again when the coronavirus doesn't destroy everyone's day.
That's good. So you'll be more than welcome. It'll be good. Good to see you over here, mate. Keep in touch, and obviously, I think it's been a great panel. I think everybody's agreed. So I've got all your details, guys. I might get you back on again at some point. I'm going to give a few other internationals a chance to get on over the next couple of weeks, because we had a great response to that, and ultimately, it'd be nice to bring you guys back because you all know each other, and I hope you've enjoyed the experience. I do want to say thank you to Bill Gibbs at the Magpie Group, who's the Fairs Club guy. So he sent us that today. And those of you who've been to St James's Park will know that there's a big plaque at the Gallagher end to celebrate Joe Harvey. And I helped get that put up there by raising £5,000 by doing an event in Newcastle a few years ago. £10,000 to get the plaque done. So we raised 50%. They've sent me a nice badge for the Fairs Club, and that bit of paper there is it's a card signed by the Newcastle United League Cup final team, 28th of February 1976. Of course, we got beaten in the cup final, 2-1 by Man City. Dennis Stewart, of course, getting an overhead pick. But it's actually signed by every single member of the cup final team. So big thanks to Bill Gibbs for sending that through the post. He said it was a long overdue gift for helping him out. So really appreciate that, Bill. Thank you. Michael Chopra will now be on tomorrow. We're going to do 2 shows tomorrow. I'm going to do Michael Chopra and Lee Clark together at 5 o'clock. And then 7:30, yes, it is ladies' night tomorrow night. The girls are back tomorrow night to discuss the NUFC takeover and whatever happens in the next 24 hours. So the girls will all be back on tomorrow. But that's all for tonight. Just want to thank Andre, Joe, who can now get back to either his beer or go to bed 2 o'clock in Japan. Mike and don't mix your drinks, and thanks to Max as well. Been an absolute pleasure to have you on, guys. Have a good night. Stay safe, and hopefully we can all meet in Newcastle one day.
Yes.
Hopefully. Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks, Andre. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Max. Thank you very much. Bye bye. Take care. Good night.